Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for being here with us this afternoon for another installment of our In Conversation with series here at Black Theatre Workshop. So good to have you here. My name is Quincy Armour. I'm the Artistic Director of Black Theatre Workshop, and I'm happy to be the one to welcome you on this Thursday, November the 12th, 2020. I hope that you are all doing well and thriving. We are still, of course, living in a strange world, but things perhaps are looking up for those of you who might have been following things that were happening south of the border. And it's just really nice to be connecting with other people around. Those of us here at Black Theatre Workshop, we've had an opportunity at times to connect with some of our colleagues across the city, which has been really wonderful. So I hope today, you are all doing well. Your families are happy and healthy and making the best as we try to do. But today is a day to have a conversation with a fantastic guest. But before we bring her in, I just want to do a little bit of housekeeping, if you will, with some of the things happening at BTW. Some of you might know that just a couple of days ago, on Tuesday, November the 10th, we finally announced what's in store for Black Theatre Workshop's 50th anniversary season. This was a long time coming, and of course, due to the pandemic, there's been a lot of changes along the way and alterations to what we originally had planned. But finally, we were able to let you know what's happening over the course of the rest of the season until the end of June. So if you haven't already, after this conversation, scroll a little bit further down on our Facebook page and look for the season announcement video. You can also go to our YouTube channel, and you'll see the video there. Of course, there's always the Black Theatre Workshop website. If you go to blacktheatreworkshop.ca, all of the information is going to be there, and we look forward to welcome you to the projects that we have in store for this, our 50th anniversary season. We're very happy, and it's so nice to finally be launched. It took a while, but we're there. Oh, I also want to let you know something else that happened in this season, or that's going to be coming up, is we have three fantastic artists who are joining us, joining the BTW family in a different way. And I just want to quickly mention that the fantastic Lydie Dubuisson has joined us as our artistic associate. And then two designers who I absolutely love, and they've been working on several projects for BTW. They are now our resident designers for season 50 and also 51, because most of our 50th season live performances are hopefully going to happen the following year. But set and costume designer Nalo Soyini Bruce and lighting designer Tim Rodriguez are our resident designers. And we're super happy to have Lydie, Nalo, and Tim join us in this way to help celebrate the 50th anniversary. I also want to let you know about our Emerging Artist Awards. Now, these are the two awards that we give out annually at our Vision Celebration Gala, which this year is going to be on Saturday, January the 30th. And the deadline for these two awards is coming up soon. It's on November the 30th. So I just want to quickly let you know about these awards, and hopefully you or somebody that you know will be eligible and can apply for them. So the first is the Victor Phillips Award. Now, this is an award that is sponsored in part by the Victor Phillips family and also in part by the TD Bank Group, who happens to be Black Theatre Workshop season sponsor. This is a cash award, and it is presented to a Black person who is under the age of 20, who is excelling academically as well as in the performing arts. So that's the Victor Phillips Award. The age cap is 20. And then the second award is the Gloria Mitchell Alliong Award. And this is presented annually to an emerging artist an emerging Black artist between the ages of 20 and 35, who is making some waves in the performing arts. So if you know anyone who fits the criteria for either of these two awards, please let them know about it. Send them to our website. All the information is there. The awards will be given out at the Vision Gala, as I mentioned, which is January 30th, but the deadline to apply for these youth awards is November the 30th, so just over 2 weeks from now. So please feel free to share that information, and we hope to be offering these awards to some very deserving Black artists in our community. But the reason we are gathered today is to have a wonderful conversation with another fantastic Black artist in our community, and her name is Akilah Newton. Now, some of you may recognize Akilah and her surname, perhaps because she is the sister to a dear friend of ours, Barry Newton, but we are here today to talk to her about what she has been doing in her own right. She's a fantastic activist, entrepreneur, and now she's also an author. So she always had an affinity for the arts, and she studied music, drama, and dance at John Abbott College. She has sung with the Montreal Jubilation Gospel Choir. She received some performing arts training in the UK. And one of the things that I wanted to talk to her about today is this organization that she founded in 2009 called Overture with the Arts, which is committed to making performing arts education accessible to youth from all walks of life here in the city. And as I mentioned, she's also now the author of 2 children's books. They are called Big Dreamers, the Canadian Black History Activity Book for Kids, Volumes 1 and 2. She is a powerhouse in the arts community here. She's a powerhouse in the Black community here. And I'm very excited to have her on to tell us a little bit about the work that she's doing and just to have her around and to share some time with her, because I think she's amazing and you should meet her if you haven't already. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming my guest for today, Akilah Newton.
Hi.
Hello, Akilah. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing okay. I'm excited to have you on. So my day's just gotten so much better.
Aw,
So thank you so much for agreeing to be here, Akilah.
Of course, I'm honored.
Good. Well, no, we are honored to have you here. It's going to be a great conversation because I want people, I'm assuming a lot of our guests are perhaps already familiar with you and your work, but I'm sure there are others that can learn about you and the wonderful work that you do. So it's great to have you here. But first question I want to ask you, as I try to do with all of our guests, is we're living in this interesting time right now. How are you doing?
I'm good. I mean, the first few months of the pandemic were, a bit rough. They were rough on everybody, but I basically just immersed myself in my work. I decided to co-write my second book. I was working on another book, just continuing to find funding opportunities for my organization, Overture with the Arts. So I just honestly just focused on work, and that's what kept me sane. But I'm doing well. Thank you.
Good. And family's good. I know you've got your brother who we know, your sister, everyone in your family is doing okay, I hope.
My family, everybody is good. So yeah, we're very blessed.
Excellent. Well, thank you for making the time to join us here at Black Theatre Workshop. Because honestly, Akilah, I think the work that you do is so fantastic. And we've had an opportunity briefly a few years ago to work on a brief collaboration together, Overture with the Arts and Black Theatre Workshop. And obviously, as you know, arts organizations here in Montreal run by Black artists, there's an affinity there. And so I'm happy to have you on, but perhaps maybe the first thing that we can do is I'll just ask you to quite simply let our viewers know, what is Overture with the Arts?
Yeah, absolutely. So Overture with the Arts is a nonprofit organization that mainly offers programs in the West Island, and we make the arts accessible to youth. So from a variety of performing arts to visual arts and media arts, we just want to offer free and low-cost programming to keep kids engaged and keep kids creating. So I founded the organization in 2009 when I noticed that there was a lack of English programming in the West Island, and affordable English programming. And I was actually working at another performing arts school. I won't say the name, but the school doesn't exist anymore. And they were charging ridiculous amounts for their programming. And I just thought it was unfair that, only families that came from certain socioeconomic backgrounds would be able to take part in these programs. So I made it my mission to actually offer quality programs for free or low cost. So that's basically the backstory of Overture with the Arts. We just celebrated our 11-year anniversary in April, and we're really looking forward to offering programs again once we're allowed to go back into community centers and schools.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, congratulations on your anniversary. 11 years is no small accomplishment. So big ups to Overture with the Arts. And I have a question, because I mean, it's not an easy thing, I would imagine, to decide to launch an organization like this. And so when you first started back in 2009, how did you envision what it was going to be? Like, for example, I'm thinking in terms of, was it always intended to be going into the schools to offer programs, or was it that the young people would be coming to you to a home? How did you figure out how to structure it in those early years?
So when I first started, I actually had no clue what I was doing. I'll be completely frank. I knew nothing about the nonprofit sector. I knew nothing about the charity sector. All I know is that I wanted to make the arts accessible to youth. So I envisioned it where I would be in a community center and people would come to me. But then I learned that Riverdale High School in Pierrefonds, at the time, it's now closed, was a community learning center, and they opened their doors to local nonprofits and charities that were offering services that would benefit their students. So I reached out to the principal and told him about our programming, and he's like, absolutely, this sounds like a great fit for our students. And from there, we started running after school programs and lunchtime programs. So it kind of took a different, different route, but in the end, we're still offering the services that we set out to offer.
Mm-hmm. And it covers, as you were mentioning, it covers the arts. So we've got drama, we've got music, we've got dance, literature. Is there writing happening?
Now, we've done spoken word workshops, but we do want to start doing some literature workshops in the sense where kids could create their own storybooks. So it's just funny because it started off as the performing arts, and then we just realized, like, no, it should be arts all encompassing, because the arts is just such a powerful tool, and kids really connect to that. For the kids that aren't good in sports or sciences, we wanted them to have their outlet. So what started off as performing arts is now just any art form that you could think of. We've even done video production workshops where kids get to create their own mini documentaries.
Fantastic. And I know that, I don't know if it happens every year, but you can let us know, during Black History Month, you also have a tour that goes around the city.
Yes, so we're actually about to celebrate the 10-year anniversary of the tour this coming February. So as you mentioned earlier, my brother, Barry Newton, he's actually my twin brother. He's been hosting the tour for the last 5-6 years. And essentially what we do is we use the arts to help educate kids about Canadian Black history. Because oftentimes in schools, when they celebrate Black History Month, they're doing stuff that's basically focusing on the States. They focus on the civil rights movement, Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, Malcolm X, and that's it. But we have so many phenomenal Black Canadians. So my brother and I made it our mission to make the tour focus on Canadian Black history. And we celebrate people like Viola Desmond, Anne Claire Cool, Yolande James. So it's been a really fun project to work on with my brother. And what started off as a Montreal tour has expanded to a national tour. So the tour has gone to Ottawa, to Calgary, Edmonton, British Columbia. It's been beautiful to see.
That's awesome. That's so great. But you just touched on something that I kind of want to delve into a little bit, just in terms of what is being offered to our young people here in Canada in terms of Black history. Because as you mentioned, there's a lot, I feel, where we don't big up our Black history in Canada as much as we can, as much as we should. And that, at least in my youth, the most Black history that I knew, it was all coming from the States. It was all American. It was only in those later years that I learned about people like Viola Desmond and Marie-Joseph Angelique. And so do you have what is your concept or idea behind what the current state of the education system is when it comes to Black history? And because I know that the books that we're going to be talking about very, very soon, also I think that was inspired by the fact that there needed to be more exposure to this history to our young Black boys and girls. Yes. Absolutely.
So, I mean, I'm not an educator in the sense that I work at a school, but to my understanding, it's not mandated for schools to teach Black history. Although my brother and I have been doing a tour for 10 years and really trying to force it upon schools, A lot of schools, for some reason, don't embrace it as Canadian history. They just see it as a segregated month, 28 days of the month, and maybe they'll talk about it in school, maybe they won't. And if they do the bare minimum and focus on the heavy hitters in the States and don't, embrace the Canadians that have done so much to change, history here in Canada. So, I mean, it is disappointing to see that it's not mandatory. And even more so, what's more, I guess, hurtful is, I mean, last week alone, we heard about a textbook in Quebec schools that's using the N-word. How is that even possible in 2020? That's unacceptable. And I mean, my dear friends, Tiffany Callender and Dr. Sabrina Jafrali have been doing a wonderful media tour expressing why the textbook should not be a part of the curriculum. We're basically traumatizing these poor Black students by using the N-word and normalizing it when it is not a normal word to use. It's completely unacceptable. So we just need to find ways to educate students and staff about why we should not be using this word, why we need to actually focus on, I guess, the more beautiful parts of Black history and not just focus on slavery. So that's my opinion in short.
Absolutely, and I'm so glad that you even just mentioned that word slavery there, because I think that's part of the problem. I think, whenever perhaps the masses think about Black history, slavery is always that one thing that comes up, but there's so much more than that. Like, that is one aspect of Black history. It's obviously there, but when we get into, looking at other moments in history and certain individuals in history and milestones, I think that there's so much more to look at. And I feel that what you're doing with Overture, with the arts and with the tour that you do in Black History Month is making huge inroads and being able to offer something new and different. So props to you and to all that you do. I'm a huge fan.
Thank you. Because just like you said, oftentimes, like, the narrative is about slavery, or how Canada is this safe haven that, took escaped slaves from the South to the North. But nobody actually talks about how we had slavery here in Canada and how segregation in Canada exists and how racism still is a problem in Canada. So my brother and I have just basically made it our mission to educate youth, because they are the future generation. And we really hope that, in the next few decades, the next generations will be more accepting and more inclusive and more loving, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting too, because when we did the production of Angelique by Gale a few years ago, which your brother was on the tour when we went to Factory Theatre in Toronto and the NAC in Ottawa. But in the original, pardon me?
I saw both shows in Ottawa and in Toronto.
Oh, wonderful! Yeah, he was so great in that. What I realized when we did the production and talking to people about it and promoting the show, I should also mention it was a co-production with our friends at Table d'Hôte Theatre. But when we were first doing it, I was surprised at how many people were surprised to learn of slavery here in Canada, because as you were saying, it was always perceived as this is where, Underground Railroad, this is where they came to escape the slavery out in the States. And so that was really, really eye-opening for me at the time. And it just sort of widened my perspective on how much education is still needed in that area. So it's so great that you're playing a huge role in that. And another way that you are doing that, in addition to the wonderful work you're doing with Overture with the Arts, is you, Akilah Newton, are now a twice over published author. I mean, first of all, congratulations. That is fantastic, amazing. Wow, congratulations.
Thank you so much. So here are my babies, Volume 1 and Volume 2. And these books were actually, as you said earlier, they were inspired by the work that my brother and I have been doing on our Black History Month tour. We noticed that when we were going to schools that a lot of, as I said earlier, a lot of the material was about the States and the civil rights movement, but we couldn't really find resources that was specific to Canada. I did find some information, don't get me wrong, but what I did find was, I personally found it was dated It was stuff that was about 10, 20 years old.
Okay.
And a lot of the information wasn't specific for kids. It was more for, I would say, CEGEP or for university. So because of that, my brother and I realized, like, wait a second, we've been teaching Canadian Black history for years. We have all the knowledge in our heads. So I just decided, like, why don't I just create these resources myself? So I did not take the traditional route. I did not go and knock on a publisher's door. I just figured I'm going to do it myself, which was risky. But because I have the relationships with the schools, I basically called up the schools that I've been working with for years and said, I have this book now. Here's some information and some resources that you could use, during Black History Month and year round, not just in February. You need to include this in your, in your class, in your curriculum. And thankfully, a lot of schools were interested, and a lot of schools are now using it in the classroom, which is beautiful to see.
Fantastic. That is so great. So we're looking at the book right now, Big Dreamers, the Canadian Black History Activity Book for Kids, Volume 1, and of course, there's now Volume 2.
Yeah.
So you mentioned, Akilah, that a lot of what you were looking for, or the books that you'd seen had been for that older audience. So what is the target age group for your books that you've written?
So I would say 7 to 12. That was the original target. However, we've had a lot of high schools actually use the book in the classroom as well. And I've had families come up to me and say, originally we bought this book to use with our children, and we thought that our children would benefit the most from this. But we actually have a lot of families who say, like, every night when we read a different page to our kids, we're actually learning information too. So to be honest, it's all ages. And because it's also a coloring book, so I'll quickly show you, there's opportunities on every single page. A lot of adults like to color too. So a lot of adults are just at home coloring away with their kids while they're learning about Canadian Black history. So it's all ages, which is not what I expected, but it's welcomed.
No, and I love that too, because you're combining so much. Not only are you offering the education, this really important knowledge and education that people should have, but you're combining it literally with the art and giving kids an opportunity to get creative inside. That's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant.
Thank you.
And so when was the first book published?
So the first book came out in October 2018. So just 2 years ago. Right. And now Volume 2 is coming out this Saturday, November 14th.
See, I didn't even, this 2 days from now.
2 days from now.
Oh, that is fantastic. That's exciting.
It's very exciting. I can't wait for, the world to see this book. It's been several months in the works, so I'm very proud of this project, and I really want people to be able to benefit from it.
Yeah, and am I right in the fact that, because we saw the book, the first volume that you issued, was the second one done with Omari?
So the second one, yes, is co-written by my brother. The first one was co-written by my colleague Tammy Gabe. So the first one actually was an alphabet of 26 different people. We did talk about each province and territory as well in Canada, but it was a smaller book. It had 64 pages, but Volume 2 actually has 100 pages. We have 50 people that we're celebrating, and we actually broke it down by province. So we talk about a historic Black community in each province, and then we talk about the people as well that helped shape that province. So it's still similar content in the sense that we have the activities and the coloring opportunities, but it's just more content to digest.
That's so brilliant. I love it. So everybody, 2 days from now, Volume 2 is available. Actually, Akilah, how are people, if people want to order either copy of the book, where do people get the book?
So they can go to my website, bigdreamers.ca, and they can get both copies. And there are also a few other goodies available on the website.
Brilliant. Awesome. So please go to the website, buy the book, tell your friends to buy the book,
yes,
tell your enemies to buy the book because they got money too. Tell everybody to buy the book.
All your school boards to buy the book.
Absolutely. Oh, that's so great. I have another question for you, Akilah. I mean, it's kind of like, is there anything that you can't do? I mean, you see a lack of something in terms of the arts, and then you end up creating this wonderful organization that's just celebrated its 11th anniversary, Overture with the Arts. Then you notice a lack in terms of books and knowledge that celebrate Black history and Black individuals, Black Canadians, and then you write a book, and then that's successful, and then you write another book. I mean, it's what can't you do, girl?
Trust me, there's a lot. I'm better behind the scenes. I cannot go on stage and do a full dramatic play like you do. Although I did in CEGEP, it was not my strength.
Going back, touch on your childhood, because you and your brother, like, I've seen the two of you together, rarely, but I've seen it happen. And I love how you are with each other. But what was it like for you growing up with Omari Newton?
Where do I begin? No, it's funny because we're polar opposites. So for those of you who don't know my brother Omari, he is an actor, so stage and screen actor. And as I said, I prefer to be behind the scenes. So it's funny, as my brother was always studying theater, and I ended up moving to England in 2003 to earn my bachelor's in entertainment management. So once again, behind the scenes. So we both always had a passion for the arts. So I guess our skills complement each other. We never really envisioned working together. So it's worked out nicely how, as adults, we do get to collaborate on projects. But it's been nice. It's always been nice to support him in theater. I mean, his first professional gig was with you guys, with Black Theater Workshop. He did My Children, My Africa, and I will never forget that. I remember crying tears of joy because I was so proud to see him, in his first play as a professional actor. So we've always been super supportive of each other in all of our crazy projects that we take on. But we are very opposite.
I love it. It's so great. It's so nice to see both of you and know that you're related and twins, but in your own different context. It's a great thing. And I know that you mentioned that Volume 2 is coming out on the 14th, which is this Saturday. So it's probably a premature question, but can we at some point anticipate Volume 3?
I think so, honestly, because when I started the project in 2018 and I was researching for Volume 1, there were so many people that I couldn't include in the book because I decided to make it an alphabet and I wanted to have one person per letter. So then when I was researching for Volume 2, I was like, wait, there are still more people that I want to include. So I think I will come out with a Volume 3, and I am actually leaning towards an international book that celebrates Black women.
Wonderful.
So maybe in the next 2 years, I mean, we'll see. It seems as though every 2 years I come out with a book. So maybe 2022.
Well, I don't know where and how you find the time to do all of the things that you do, but whatever you're doing, please keep doing it, because we are all the better for it. I can gush for ever and ever and ever about you, but I just want to say, Akilah, you are a shining example to our young people here, not just here in our local community and specifically Black community here in Montreal, but across the country. I think that it's a wonderful thing to see so many positive role models for our young Black people in the city. And I think that, I'm very fortunate to have been doing this series, since the pandemic happened, but to have a chance to really, meet and sit down and share with some artists about what they're doing, and really, highlight, I think, some of the success stories that are coming out of our community. And for me, Akilah, you are such a huge success story. It's my absolute pleasure. You're doing such wonderful things. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on here. Oh, I'm going to just see. We have a question. Great. You mentioned the book was written with younger kids in mind. I'm wondering what level the language is, for example, from Francophone kids who are trying to tackle English. That's a great question.
Ooh, so Francophone kids trying to tackle English, I would say about age 9 or 10. It is a little more advanced, the vocabulary, just because I didn't want to dumb it down. I wanted kids to actually be able to sit down to work with their parents or their teachers and ask questions. So if they didn't understand a word, they'd be like, Mom, what does this mean? And I wanted them to just really work together to understand the content in the book.
That's great. So in that regard, it sounds like it would actually be the perfect kind of opportunity for someone where English is their second language to actually learn the information that's contained in the book, but also to actually work on the language at the same time, because it's something that they can be able to handle.
100%. Absolutely.
Fantastic. So last thing, What is perhaps one thing, like as hopefully we're going to be coming out of the pandemic, knock on wood, who knows when, but eventually we will. And I'm suspecting that that people's relationship to art, to performance, and for me, I think about, you know, the performing arts in particular, because there hasn't been very much theater at all, dance, those kinds of things were lacking. And so I'm anticipating anxiously the return of performance in that way. But I also feel that there's going to necessarily be a different relationship that we have with it. And I guess I just wanted to find out from you, is there something about the work that you do or the performing arts in general that you would like to see evolve when we finally get back to being able to do what we do?
I would like to see the performing arts come back to more intimate settings, to be honest. And with the pandemic, we can't have large gatherings anymore. So I would love to see more performances in smaller black box theaters, whether it be music, dance, or theater. I love intimate performances where like you could literally hear the performer breathing on stage. So I hope we do come back to that. I just find it has more of a human connection that way. I mean, yes, it's great to be in large arenas, but it's just not the same feel. So I think we will actually veer towards that, because we're not going to be able to have, you know, big performances with thousands of people in venues anymore. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I think it'd be nice to see, you know, a play run for a full month and do 30 shows as opposed to 2 weeks and do, you know, 10 to 15 shows. That's what I would love to see.
Y'all heard it. You said it. Make it happen. Akilah Newton, thank you so much. It was wonderful, wonderful sitting here and chatting with you. I really appreciate that.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure. And actually, before we go, what I'd love to do is I'd love to give away a copy of Volume 1 and Volume 2. So we do a giveaway on your Facebook page. Because like I said, I want people to learn about these phenomenal Black Canadians. So that is my gift to you.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much. That's so generous of you. And yes, we will happily accept your offer of the books, and we'll come up with some kind of fun and interesting way to decide who gets to get the books. That'll be really good.
Absolutely.
Again, Akilah, so wonderful talking with you. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I look forward to seeing you again, hopefully sometime soon.
Thank you again for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure, and it's been my honor. So thank you guys so much.
It's our pleasure, Akilah.
Happy 50th.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Take care.